So for chapter 4, presentation, analysis, and interpretation of data. This chapter presents the findings, analysis, and the interpretation of data gathered. So at the end of the topic, you will be able to understand the difference between presentation, analysis, and interpretation in chapter 4 of a research paper. Second, effectively present the gathered data through graphs, tables, and figures. Data analysis is the process of bringing order, structure, and meaning to the mass of collected data. It is a messy, ambiguous, time-consuming, creative, and fascinating process. It does not proceed in a linear fashion. It is not neat. Data analysis is a search for answers about relationships among categories of data. Marshall and Rossman, 1990, 111. Data analysis. Data analysis and interpretation are considered to be one of the important steps in a research paper after administering the questionnaire. Data gathered are raw in nature, then it is arranged in a certain format or order. This raw data takes the form of the information. The most critical essential supporting pillars of the research are the analysis and the interpretation of the data. With the help of the interpretation, step 1 was able to achieve a conclusion from the set of data gathered. Interpretation has two major aspects, namely establishing continuity in the search through linking the result of a given study with those of another and the establishment of some relationship with the collected data. Interpretation can be defined as the device through which the factors which seem to explain what has been observed by the researcher in the course of study. Presentation. Presentation is the process of organizing data into logical, sequential, and meaningful categories and classifications to make it amenable to study and interpretation. Analysis. Analysis is separation of a whole into its constituent parts. Merriam-Webster, year 2012. The process of breaking up the whole study into its constituent part of categories according to the specific question under the statement of the problem. Calderon, 1993. Interpretation. This section answers the question, so what, in relation to the results of the study. What do the results of the study mean? This part is, perhaps, the most critical aspect of the research report. It is often the most difficult to write because it is the least structured. So for summarization, data analysis and interpretation is the process of assigning meaning to the collected information and determining the conclusion, significance, and implications of the findings. Next, next is ano po? Next reporter.
Ways of presenting data.
So,
There are three ways of presenting data. First is textual. Statements with numerals or numbers that serve as supplements to tabular presentation. A textual presentation is a textual presentation is a vague and raw format of the data. The data is mentioned in the text form, which is usually written in paragraph. The textual presentation of data is used when the data is not large and can be easily comprehended by the reader just when he reads the paragraph. Next one is a tabular presentation of data. It is a table that helps to represent even a large amount of data in an engaging, easy to read, and coordinated manner. The data is arranged in rows and columns. This is one of the most popularly used forms of presentation of data as the data tables are simple to prepare and read. And lastly is a graphical presentation. The graphic presentation represents a highly developed body of techniques for elucidating, interpreting, and analyzing numerical facts by the means of points, lines, areas, and other geometric form and symbols. Next reporter, please.
So we have six types of graphs in charts. Number one is bar graphs that present categorical data with rectangular bars with height or length na proportional sa mga halagang kinakatawan ng mga ito. Ang bar graph ay maaaring i-plot ng patayo o pahala. The second one is linear graph. Linear graph means straight, and a graph is a diagram which shows a connection or relation between two or more quantities. So the linear graph is nothing but straight line or straight graph which are drawn on plane connecting the point on x and y coordinates. Third, pie graph. A pie graph is a chart, circular statistical graph na nahati sa mga hiwa upang ilarawan ang numerical na proportion. Sa isang pie chart ay ang haba ng arco na bawat slice ay proportional sa dami ng pinapresent nito. 4. A pictogram, also called is pictograph, or simplified picto. At sa paggamit ng computer ng isang icon ay isang graphic na simbolo na naghahatid ng kahulugan nito sa pamamagitan ng larawang pagkakahawig nito sa isang physical object. 5. Statistical maps are used to show the difference in values or frequency of an event, probability of an event, or iba pa sa pagitan ng iba't ibang geographical region o sa geospatial analysis kasama sa mga modernong statistical graphics ang paggamit ng mga satellite image at street level views. And last, ratio chart. Isang chart na gumagamit ng Cartesian coordinate system kung saan ang mga punto sa isang curve ay tinutukoy sa pamamagitan ng pagsukat ng oras bilang independent variable sa isang axis at mga logarithms sa mga values na nakaukulang dependent variable kasama ang iba pa. Next reporter, please.
Here are the general guidelines to follow in reporting and writing data analysis and interpretation. First, an introductory paragraph is provided at the start of the chapter. Second, subtitles of section are based on the question in the statement of the problem, stated in declarative form, single space bold. Third, table and figure numbers and titles are written in capital lowercase at the center, single space. Title should come after the number, arranged in inverted pyramid. Fourth, table and figure should be continuous numbering. It should be presented first before discussion. Enclosed tables with double line on top should be used. Graph should be colored. And lastly, discussion should follow the format. Presentation of the data, the table itself, analysis and interpretation, then implications. Related literature and studies may be used to support the findings. Next reporter and next slide, please.
Here's are the keywords used in analyzing and interpreting data. You can use first, table blank represent the second, table blank indicates the third, as reflected in the table there was. Fourth, as observed there was indeed. Fifth, delving deeper into the figures. Six, the illustrative graph below shows that. 7. In explaining this result, it can be stated that 8 is found to be determinant of 9, has significant relationship with 10, is discovered to be a factor of 11. In relation with the result of blank, it may be constructed that 12, and in viewing in this sense, it can be stated that 13, the result establish the fact that. 14. This finding suggests that. 15. With this result, the researcher developed an impression that. Next. Here's the example in interpreting the data. Chapter 4. Presentation, Analysis, and Interpretation of Data. This chapter represents analysis and interprets the data used in this study to determine the employment status of PUP T graduate batch 2011-2015. Table 1A. Frequency distribution of respondents, gender, sex. Sex, male and female. Frequency, N is equals to 109 percentage. Male is 27 and its percentage is 24.77%. Female has 82 and its percentage is 75.23, equivalent to 100%. So, sa binigay na keywords kanina, dito natin gagamitin yan. Table 1A shows the frequency distribution of the respondents' gender. It illustrates that there are more female respondents, which are 82 or 75.23% than male, which are 27 or 24.77%. That's all for week 17. Thank you.